Hello, this is Ken here from MarkiumPro.com. So basically, we're just going to give you a breakdown of, so if you're a newbie, you have no understanding about the prediction markets, I'm just going to explain to you what are prediction markets essentially, how they work, and how you can obviously make money with little or no experience. So essentially, prediction markets are like online platforms which enables you to be able to trade contracts based on the outcome of future events. So these events basically span from elections, right? So you can see here, this is the Markium website. It spans from events connected to politics, like elections, for example, crypto, so different projects there, just various events, technology, pop culture, sports. So it transcends all various topics, interests, markets, which is extremely interesting for a lot of people that may not necessarily want to essentially take bets or invest, but have a keen eye to know what's happening within these specific facets or areas. So instead of buying shares in a company, you can essentially buy or sell shares on a possible outcome based on what I just explained. So for example, if you believe that the US elections, so if we say Democratic presidential nominee, if we click on that, so if we say here that who could be the next Democratic presidential nominee 2028, it shows here Gavin Newsom is 36% chance. AOC has a 9% chance, so on and so forth. You can be able to go back and then you could maybe look at the, let's say, nominee for the Republican. So if you go for nominee, you can basically see that JD Vance has a 52% chance of becoming the Republican presidential nominee. So if you believe this is going to be the case going into the elections on 2028, then you could actually take a bet or buy yes on this. It's currently at 52 cents right now. So if you buy and you put, let's say, $100 in, you'll be able to make on that lift if it gets to 100%. So that will basically be you'll make $48, right? And then obviously plus your $100 investment that you made. So in terms of market creation, so right now you have various platforms. So Markium, this is more of a data aggregator, on-chain aggregator, provides you with various tools, wallet analytics, alerts on certain projects. You can track various profitable traders. But then you have like Polymarket, for example. Polymarket, they essentially are one of the leaders right now in prediction markets. You've got Kalshi also. There's also predictit.org. So there's a few that really command the majority of the share of the trading volume right now. So market creation primarily is done with all of these projects. That's done in-house, internally. With some like Kalshi, you can basically make suggestions. So for example, there's ideas portal that they have. So if you have an idea of a specific market that you want to, then you can be able to create an idea and then they will then decide whether this can become an outcome or not. Others, everything's done internally from the team, and then they'll basically decide thereafter. So in terms of settlement, this is really, really important, and this changes dependent on the prediction market. So for example, with Polymarket, how the resolution occurs is markets are resolved by the UMA. This is an optimistic oracle smart contract based on optimistic oracle. So essentially, when the result of a market becomes clear, the market can be resolved and permanently finalized. Markets are resolved according to the market predefined rules. So there's a set of rules. Every specific market has a rule, right? So if you go to Fed decision in September, it gives you the details. Then what you then have, you have the rules, right? So it gives you a full breakdown of the rules. These rules are different for every specific event. So this decreases the chance of any contention that actually happens. And then you have the resolve, which is the UMA, which I basically mentioned. And then that's where the resolution actually occurs. The resolve of market outcome must be first proposed, which involves putting up a bond in USDC, which will be fortified if the proposal is unsuccessful. If the proposal validated as accurate, the proposer will receive a reward for your proposal. Okay, so if there's an issue, one can basically then propose, and then they would have to put up in stablecoin, and then if it is proposed and accurate, they will essentially receive a reward for that proposal and also the money back. But if it's not unsuccessful, then essentially that specific bond, let's say quote unquote, is fortified. And then once in the verification process, UMA will review the transaction to ensure it was proposed correctly. If approved, you will receive your bond back in your wallet plus the reward. Yes. To dispute a proposed resolution, once a market's proposed a resolution, it goes into a challenge period of 2 hours. So that's how it works with Polymarket. Basically with Kalshi, how they work is they have like a team, internal team. And with that internal team, they basically then decide on, so here it gives you a breakdown of trading, participation guidelines. So I will add all of this in the description so you're fully aware. But they have like a panel of members, let's say, that will then basically decide on resolutions. How you can basically make money. So there's various ways how you can essentially make money from these opportunities. You can do arbitrage. So you can look for similar outcomes. So same events. Republican presidential nominee, for example, on Markium, you can see what the rates are. So this is 52% right now for JD Vance. You can then look at Kalshi. So if we pull up with Kalshi and we see Republican nominee, let's see what they have under JD Vance. JD Vance is 54%, right? So you can see with Markium, it's 52%, slightly lower. But then with it's 2% higher. So if you believe, okay, you're extremely confident that JD Vance will become the next Republican nominee, then you're getting a better price on Markium at 52% because you get a higher amount rather than on Kalshi. Does that make sense? Then you have another option is early market entry. So for example, if you believe, let's say for example, there's been a lot of talk of the mayor, the NYC elections mayoral elections that's taken place. So let's say, for example, we have a situation regarding Eric Adams, right? So this event is, will Eric Adams drop out? So it's been for literally a start is that his rate was about 26% chance that he would drop out. Then all of a sudden, mid-August, it spiked higher up to 67% right now. And this was based on news that Trump had a meeting with him for him to drop out, and then he will be part of his administration. He'll give him a position. And then effectively those votes, those that supported Eric Adams, potentially will then look at maybe potentially supporting Chris Cuomo that has maybe a similar ideology compared to socialist-leaned Mamdani, right? So this gives Chris Cuomo a high opportunity. So based on this news, you could have basically just took advantage of opportunity and essentially doubled your money just on that spike. And you're not waiting to a potential resolution, the end verdict. You're basically just entering on that momentum and then selling out, right? But it's also what you need to take into consideration is liquidity. Right now, there's 1.3 million volume. So there's liquidity that you can be able to enter at more than $100, more than 1,000, more than 10,000, and you can be able to exit. And there are orders sitting on the bid and offer, which is really, really important. So this gives you a breakdown of the situation that you can basically see there. Then you also have stuff like hedging risks. So for example, I don't know, let's say you own, let's say a coffee company, for example, needs to buy coffee beans for future delivery, right? But fears like the price of these beans will increase significantly between now and then. And let's say there's a prediction market, which I don't think there is. Let's see. Coffee. Okay, there's no prediction market for that. But for example, let's say prediction market, a company enters a prediction market and sells a contract to buy coffee beans, predetermined price, right? So you believe at a specific day it's going to be at this price. So you're essentially taking advantage of that price differential as that market moves, right? So that's an example of a hedging opportunity that some people essentially will look at. Then you've got obviously long-term holding. There are plays where people want to essentially take advantage of like long-term trades. What we are now starting to see, there are some trade platforms that are now looking to offer. I think Kalshi just came out that are now looking to offer yield on your positions. So let's say you're holding, let's say the presidential elections 2028, you decided to put in 100 grand that you believe Marco Rubio will become the next president, right? So that 100 grand sitting there all the way up until 2028. We're 3 years away from that, right? So you're not making anything on that money. Obviously, if his chances increase, you're making money as an unrealized gain, but you're not generating any yield. So some of these platforms like Kalshi are looking to give you, I think, 4% based on yield, based on your money. So that's kind of interesting now that we're moving into. Are prediction markets legal? So we've had a lot of growth in terms of that. The prior administration, there was this sandbox where they were not really approving any of these prediction market platforms. Now we're hearing that obviously prediction market, Polymarket gets CFTC license that's been approved after end of a 3-year exile, which was clearly tough for them. Kalshi is a regulated CFTC independent agency of the US government. So obviously this is their details that they have here. We also heard news that Predict It gained a CFTC approval to launch regulated exchanges. So the gates are opening, right? The opportunities are there now. It's easier than it was a few years ago. So this now means that these businesses, platforms, entities can actually conduct business and offer their services to those based in the US. So yeah, if you like this, please follow us. Please start taking advantage. We are adding a lot of information, a lot of features on our platform. We believe we're going to become the true number one. We're not competing with Kalshi. We're not competing with Polymarket. We're going to provide you as necessary tools, i.e. breaking news, wallet analytics. You can track various orders, copy trading. You can be able to copy any of the leading traders to see what they're doing. So many interesting features that will enable you to make better decisions when you start to, or obviously in your investing endeavor, your journey. So markiumpro.com. Thank you.